Celtics did blow out the Sixers, Jay, as someone on the show predicted yesterday.
Oh, do I get credit for actually getting one correct?
It's not important who did it. We're a team, Jay.
No.
121-87.
Wait, why is it when I get it wrong, you guys, Jay, you got it wrong, but all of a sudden when I get it right, oh, we got it right.
Jay, why are you dwelling on the past, man? Let's look forward.
Because it usually will say Keyshawn got it wrong when it wasn't me, because the name's at the top of the show. I get blamed for the bad.
Yeah, well, you're the leader.
See? But now that you predicted it correctly, Max and I would like to get our credit as a group.
Yes, as a group. Come on. We're
As
a
a
team.
group, yeah, sure.
It's like when we won the 2-on-2. The three of us did. Remember that?
No,
But
I
it's
don't.
certainly
Bart and Han. KJM is a show. It's a team show, and we
You
won.
added nothing to the scenario.
How
you
dare you?
You gave Key and I
in
nothing.
basketball, you're supposed to be a leader. What kind of a leader is this?
I'm a leader calling out my teammate, but not doing anything.
Damn.
But certainly the Celtics
That's
did.
right.
They did blowed.
They blowed
blowed out the Celtics.
They did. I mean,
No, it's not, man.
it's a little nip and tuck in the first
I love that
quarter. Back and forth a little bit, and then if you went to sleep early last night, you woke up this morning and said, damn, 121-87. And Embiid comes back, Jay, but what do you think about the fact that he played in the first place?
I'm fine with it. This whole thing that people are saying he shouldn't have came back, stop. He is the MVP of the NBA.
Can he go?
And if he can go. Key, like what?
I mean, that looked fine to me right there, that dunk.
And how many times, Key, did we talk about people saying, well, you know, if an athlete can go, then they should go. Like, so he went. Now we're telling them not to go. Well, there's going to be a level of adjustment that's going to come back with Joel Embiid. And James Harden, you see it. I think there's a tendency to defer, which you should, to the MVP. But realistically, they got one.
Yeah,
so
the home court is
all that
back with
matters.
him now.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting way of looking at it. A lot of people are like, well, you already got one. Might as well rest Embiid. But you're saying you're going to have to reintegrate him into the group. Might as well, if you're going to burn that game anyway, you're probably going to lose. Burn it in his comeback game and then get a little momentum with the group altogether.
And we knew
But Doc and company didn't go into the game saying, oh, well, he just needs to get some run, exercise on the floor. That was not their mindset. Their mindset was, we need to win the game. We need to go up 2-0. And if he gives us the best chance to win, then he needs to play. If he's healthy, he can go. He should play. That's just.
Look, I think you play with house money in these kind of situations, right? Like, you got to win. James Harden was prolific. You feel this swarm of energy about to come your way with the Celtics. They're angry. Joe Mazzulla walked off the press conference because he didn't get asked about the schematics and how he changed things up. Jaylen Brown played out of his mind. Marcus Smart applied incredible pressure. Look, they took 51 threes in this game, right? They hit They had 26 three-point attempts in the first game, 51 in this game. They had 26 three-point attempts at the beginning of the third quarter last night. So it was just a different vibe.
So Joel Embiid was asked about whether he considered sitting out until Friday at the post-game presser. Here's Embiid.
The way we saw it, what I have, is, supposed to be out for, 4 to 6 weeks or something like that. So I'm not going to be 100%, for that whole time, or I'm not going to be fully healed for that whole time. And, I felt pretty good, to play, and I feel like, I can help the team, defensively and offensively. Obviously, offensively, I wasn't as aggressive. Was just trying to let the game come to me, and then defensively, just protecting the rim. And I did a fine job, when it comes to that.
5 blocks last night. I mean, look, you just want Joel Embiid to trend in the right direction, get his conditioning back very quickly, and get his aggressiveness back. Right? Like, you take multiple weeks off from the game and you try to come back and find your rhythm. It's challenging for anybody, Key. Look, the 76ers are still live in this whole thing, but I will tell you, last night I said that I felt like the Boston Celtics had an identity crisis. That is who Boston is. That's who Boston needs to be all the time. The aggressive, physical-natured team that applies pressure and inserts their will defensively. Like, that's who Marcus Smart needs to be. That's who Jaylen Brown needs to be. Jason Tatum doesn't need to be 1 of 7 from the field. But still, they impose their will and their style on the 76ers. That was a good step for the Celtics last night as well.
Be interesting if like as much as wide open as this year seemed, it winds up being Boston against either Denver or Golden State, right? Like, because in the old days in the NBA, you knew going into the playoffs.
You skip right over the Lakers.
Hold on.
Why don't you skip over the Lakers?
I'll tell you why. Because in the old days, you knew going in who's probably going to be in the finals. And then the season would take all these twists and turns, and it looked like, oh, no, maybe not. But then in the end, it turned out being who you thought. So it would be interesting if what happened this year is you got a rematch from last year's finals. Or at least one of them back in the finals and the other one the best record in the other conference. Because that would indicate it's actually business as usual.
I don't want to see Denver. I don't want to watch Denver in the finals. I just don't. Sorry.
Why?
Because I'm going to go to sleep.
Stop, man. This Denver slander is just
Did you
old.
like watching the Spurs back in the day, Key?
Old.
I only watched the Spurs when they played, in the Western Conference Final against the Lakers or –
Tim Duncan didn't do it for Key. Jokic doesn't do it for Key.
Key, do you know, other than Steph Curry, Jokic is probably the most prolific one-man offense in this league?
I understand.
Most prolific one-man offense in this league.
I
and his numbers have gone up each playoff series. And by the way, look at some of the players he's played in the playoffs with as it relates to backcourt mates.
I understand your POV on noticing Jokic and his ability to continue to do
it. We had a board meeting.
Frank, what's your biggest takeaway from the Celtics beating the Sixers last night?
Guy.
I had a funny feeling that Embiid wouldn't be great. Defensively, he was pretty good in the first half, but I wasn't too surprised. I mean, the Celtics were in desperation mode. That was a win they had to have. I know there's been a lot of debate about Embiid not playing in the game. He had been off for 13 days. At some point, you got to get out there. Hey, if they win the game, if he plays well, they're up 2-0. But I also think, to improve his conditioning, when you're out for that long, you could tell he was laboring a little bit. They were going to try to, attack him, make him come out on the perimeter and guard Al Horford. And now that he's got a game under his belt, and we know how it's going to work in Game 3. Before the game, they're going to present him with the MVP trophy. The crowd there is going to be absolutely on fire. I think it's good that he got a game in before Game 3 because that now will be the most important game in the series.
Frank, that's what I said. Everybody's like, "Oh, he shouldn't come back and play." And I'm just saying, well, no. You want this team to find their groove offensively and defensively, and recognize the presence that he brings. He had 5 blocks last night. They're a different team with him on the floor. I'd rather get that process started sooner than later in the playoff series. But I wanted to ask you, Frankie, about the Boston Celtics. At the end of the day, who do you think this team actually is? Were they the team from last night, or were they more so the team that we saw in Game 1?
I think it's the team from last night, even though I think you look now at the teams left in the playoffs. I think top to bottom, they have the most talent. I thought they had the most talent going into the playoffs, and now the team that should have been their chief rival, the Milwaukee Bucks, are not going to have to face them. They've had some disappointing games, though. They lost Game 5 at home to Atlanta, and then they lose Game 1 at home to Philadelphia the other night. So they look more vulnerable than you would think. And if you think about Joe Mazzulla, the situation that he's in, he really is in a no-win situation. The only thing he really can do is win a championship. If he gets to the finals, everyone will say, well, they got to the finals last year with a different coach. It's essentially the same team. If they fall short, so you could already sense it when they lose. A lot of it falls on him. I couldn't believe how poorly they played the other night. I didn't think they didn't do a great job on James Harden. It was good to see Malcolm Brogdon bounce back. I mean, Jay, you've seen a lot of bad turnovers before. Mm-hmm. I mean, how about the one that he had late in the game? I mean, when Fred Brown did it a million years ago, he was a freshman at Georgetown. Malcolm Brogdon's been in the league a long time. I've never seen a turnover like that late in the shot clock. Why, first of all, he's not looking to shoot the ball? I didn't understand. But, to throw the ball like that to Maxey, that ended up being a huge play in the game. So I know there's a lot of concern up there in Boston. I think the good sign is that Tatum's their best player, and they won a game where Tatum didn't do anything. He was 1 for 7 last night, so that's a good sign.
Watch how quick this goes by, Max. The series is even now, and they headed back to Philly. Who has the edge?
I still think the Celtics, because I think the Celtics, traditionally, they've always done well against Philadelphia, especially this Celtic team against this Philadelphia team. Boston's tough enough where they can get one road win. I think if Philadelphia's going to win the series, I think they got to win both games at home. They're capable of doing it. I love the way that Tyrese Maxey has played. The Anthony Melton, who was really good in the Nets series, has been a help off the bench. Paul Reed has been good. But they're going to need Embiid to play like a star now. Embiid, I have an MVP vote. I voted him MVP. It would drive me nuts when Embiid would complain, oh, nobody likes me. Everybody likes Joel Embiid. He's a great player. He's kind of funny. He's a bit of a showman. But now the pressure is going to be on him because now, like they do with all these superstar players, everyone turns, well, have you been to a finals? Have you won a championship? He hasn't been out of the second round. So now it's going to be, put up or shut up time for Joel Embiid. He got that trophy that he wanted. Now the thing is beat the best team that's left in the NBA playoffs and get to a conference finals.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.